Welcome to Horn Online Training, Training Module 62.1, Intro to Modular. I'm your trainer, Edwin Tunney, Training and Technical Specialist for Horn USA Incorporated. Before we begin, we'll talk about what modular systems that Horn offers. Today, we're going to talk about what you can find in the Modular Holder Systems catalog, but we'll also in later trainings talk about our Groff system, as well as our partner W&F as far as modular tooling. But today we're going to cover just the modular system from our own Modular Holder Systems catalog. One big part of Horn's modular grooving systems is built on the 220 system, what's called the 220 system. And the 220 system means that you have this T sort of connection, and then you have cassettes. So the system consists of a back end holder, and that could be a HSKT, TS, a polygonal shank, a square shank, and then your front end cassette, which is for radial grooving, also axial grooving. And then below that are the different systems or insert types that you can find cassettes for. So we have some cassettes for the S100 system, the 224 inserts, the 229 inserts, the 274, the S34T. On the axial grooving or face grooving system, you can find the S15A, the 25A, and then the 224 and the 229 as well. On the other side of things, with the 3 cutting edge type inserts, you have the 312 system for radial grooving. You also have the 315 and the precision centered S315 system. And lastly, we also have the 64T system. So from an overview perspective, the 220 system is a basic holder, and that could be anything from a polygonal C3 all the way to C8, Horn TS, HSK or HSKT, as well as others, some square shank offering and custom solutions also available. But that's going to hold different cassettes, as we saw in the first slide there, different cassette systems to adapt to different inserts. You have radial cassettes as well as face grooving cassettes. So you have a clamping side, and then you have a locating side. So the locating side on the cassette, that's a female type adapter, and then you have a male on the holder. You do also have coolant through capability with the 220 interface. So this system has been transitioned from some non-through coolant cassettes, and also you'll see in the next slides the availability of through coolant through all the cassettes as a standard. But in case you don't have coolant through the cassette, you can also shut off the coolant going to the cassette and use a nozzle. So that option is also available. There are different configurations even within the same insert. So you can have some cassettes where you have coolant through the clamping finger only. You can also have some cassettes that have through the clamping finger and underneath the flank of the insert. And then some, because you have maybe a top clamp, you can also have some that come right through the support on the holder. So different coolant types, even within the same family of inserts, as you see here, the 224, same insert. So you have various cassettes available for the 220 system. You have an S100, so that's our single-sided insert for deeper grooves. You can see you can have a D max of 80 and a T max of right around 1 inch or 25 millimeter. The 224, you have different configurations of coolant. Also on the Swiss type insert, you have the 274 pocket size 04. So in addition to the back end holders, which are various and also can be made to order, you also have front end cassettes. So you have the S100 system, which is our single-sided insert for deeper T-maxes or depth of groove. We have our 224 system, our 274 system, the 229 system in a couple different coolant configurations, whether it be in pocket sizes. Also, S34T, the 312, which is likened to our square shank 360 holder. The 368 system or holder for our 312. The 315, which is mainly, you can see, is a very wide insert, used a lot in threading type profiles. The 315 also in a also is a direct mount pocket, so screw through, so you don't have clamps to interfere and get chips hung on. So 315 also here, different pocket sizes. The 316 system, the S316, which is the precision centered system, the S64T, the 25A. You also have face grooving. So face grooving cassettes, you can see have a unique coolant setup here. You have coolant underneath and you have coolant on top. So you have plenty of opportunity to flush the chips and remove heat from the process. Also face groovers on the 229 system. And I guess the biggest benefit on the 224 and 229 is that is going to give you access to well over 20 geometries with each. So really a problem solver for difficult materials or processes. So all in total, you see that the 220 system itself is a very well-rounded modular system, not much left out there. And now since I think this year, all of these are offered in through coolant capability. So the next system that we need to talk about as far as Horn's modular tooling is the 960 system. And the 960 is a basic system with a basic back connection to your machine turret, an intermediate cassette holder, and your cassette. Very, very simple system, but very versatile and high performance. So you have your cassette holder, you have your cassette, and your basic holder. Now, the basic holder can come in many different types of configuration. So you have BMT in sizes 32 all the way to 80. You have MAZ in 40 and 50, VDI-B 34 and 50, 30, 40, and 50, and VDI-C 25, 30, 40, and 50. So you can really adapt this to numerous machine turret configurations. Then you have your intermediate cassette holder. So the intermediate cassette holder comes in 3 configurations. You have an external, which is the 960.A, an internal, which is the 960.I, and the external type B VDI, which is the 960Q. So it's this one here. It has a dovetail on the back. The external cassette, as you can see, is mounted on the opposite side of the keyway. So there's a keyway on the back here. The external cassette is here. So your mounting to the base holder is here. Your intermediate cassette or cassette holder, and then your cassette is on the opposite side of that. On the internal side, your cassette is on the same side as the keyway. So there's reasons for that configuration. First and foremost is depending on what system you have on your machine. And if you're on a main spindle, a sub spindle, so on and so forth. So it adapts to best adapt to your setup. You can see the differences here and how they're put together. So this is an internal system. So your keyway's here, and your cassette is kind of internal to the holder. And then you have your external system, your keyway here, and it's on the opposing side there. The internal system has a little more reach into the machine. I think there's around 13 millimeter difference between like for like internal and external holders. So you can see one is a little bit stubbier than the other. On the cassette side of things, you have a few different options. You have the 845 cassette, and you also have the 842 cassette. This just happens to be an S100, but you'll see cassette wise, you have 845 and 842. These are ambidextrous, so they can be mounted on either side. The additional one, 840, which is not very prevalent, but is out there, can hold the S100 insert, the 224, and the 274. So you have the 100, the 224, and the 274. So the 224 is going to give you access to all the geometries. The S100 is going to be your go-to for deeper grooves, and the 274 is going to be access to those Swiss type geometries, form type tools, and the like. The 842 cassette holds the S100, the 224, as well as a couple of different ISO inserts, DC type inserts, or VC type inserts, and then as well as the 312 3-edge triangle for grooving. And then the 845 has a little bit of everything: the 100, the 224, the 229, the DC, the VC, and the 312. So the 845 is by far the most expansive system with the most options for inserts to adapt. The 845 system also is a little bit of a bigger animal here. So in some cases, the 842 makes sense when you need to clear a part or machine specific requirements where you need a shorter cassette. The 845 though is very rigid underneath the insert. So you see how much distance you have from the cutting edge to the connection here. A lot of mass of material underneath the insert, making it very stable. The flexibility of the 960 system is pretty impressive. You have your basic holder, you have your intermediate cassette, and that can be mounted in 4 different ways. So you can have the insert facing up, the insert facing down, and swap sides on this. You have this little part here that comes off, and it will go up into the upper part here if you want to switch the cassette around. And that gives you more flexibility to keep your rotation of your machine the same when you're doing a part off operation, and direct the chips and the forces in the direction that you choose. You only need a handful of tools for these setups to have multiple configurations here. So if you're parting off on the sub spindle and you're turning anti-clockwise, you can use an internal intermediate holder and a right-hand cassette, an 845 cassette. If you're parting off with the sub spindle in a clockwise motion, you have a grooving tool holder, the I, and then use a left-hand cassette. So in this case, if you have the left and the right hand of a cassette, You can do either parting off clockwise or anti-clockwise. If you're on the main spindle, you can use the 960. This is the external with a left-hand cassette. And then if you're parting off on the main in a clockwise rotation, you can use the grooving tool holder, the external 960 with a right-hand cassette. So just a handful of cassettes with a lot of different configurations. All right, that concludes today's training. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you get alerts when we post new videos. Thanks and have a great day.